Hey, Danny Matta here, founder of Physical Therapy Biz, and I just turned 40. And what I wanted to do was share what I wish I would have known 10 years ago when we started our first business today on the podcast. This past weekend, I turned 40. I got together with about 30 friends and family at a big cabin in North Georgia. It was great. We had a fantastic time, except for the fact that norovirus swept through the house, and about half the people there have been very miserable for the last few days, me included. But I had a fantastic time aside from that. And it gave me some time to really sit and kind of reflect and think and honestly just be grateful for the fact that I could get together with so many friends and family, that everyone is healthy, everyone is doing well. And for me in particular, it gave me an opportunity to really think about just how much has changed in our life in the last 10 years. And I wanted to share, my thoughts on that with you. And I have 10 things that I feel like I've learned that I wish I would have known 10 years ago. When we started our practice, I was just coming out of the military, no business experience, anything like that. And a lot of the stuff that we learned, I wish somebody would have told me, a mentor or something like that, because a lot of these lessons are you learn the hard way, and in some cases that's the best way to learn them. But either way, if I can help you avoid maybe some of the challenges that I've gone through, and you can just listen to what I have to say and be like, yeah, that sounds better than me doing this other way. It's a win-win, right? So number one, comparison is the thief of joy. This is something that I feel like I say all the time. It's a Teddy Roosevelt quote, and the whole concept of it is pretty straightforward, right? Comparison is the thief of joy. Comparison is a funny thing because for those of us that are competitive, which are most people that are actually going to start a business, I think that's a pretty common, attribute for a lot of those folks, for better or worse. Um, you're very competitive, and it's very common to compare yourself to other people around you. But when we do that, what happens is, like, it never really works out well for us. We're either gonna feel better about ourselves and cool, good for you, you're doing better than somebody else. That's kind of a dickhead thing to focus on. Or you're not doing as well as somebody else, and then you make yourself feel bad, right? You're like, "Oh, so and so looks like they have a, whatever, better business than me. It looks like they go on cooler vacations than I do. It looks like they do all these other things." And in social media, in particular, it's so easy to curate your life for all the best parts of it and not the not so great parts of it. It'd be like me showing all these pictures of our family going to this cabin in North Georgia, but half the people there are, have norovirus. Like, that's the not so great part of it. But you can kind of take that out and just make it look like everybody's having this awesome time, which we had a great time until everyone got sick, right? But the reality is, you can make your life look however you want, and other people do this all the time. And it's very easy for us to compare ourselves to other people and feel bad about where we're at or what we're doing, or maybe we're not doing enough. And and that is a very, very bad place to be, because it frankly doesn't matter, right? We make more progress when we focus on what we're trying to do and where we're trying to go, and the things that we need to put in place, or the work that we need to have done in order for us to get where we're going, than it is to focus on anybody else. And I see this constantly in businesses where people are comparing themselves to other businesses, and and then they get in this sort of reactive state of, oh, well, I'm not doing this type of ad, or I'm not doing this type of program, or I didn't do this type of like email campaign. And now all of a sudden they take their attention away from the things that they're working on, and then they go to copy everybody else. And when you're copying other people in particular in a business, it's never a good place to be. You never want to be on that side of it. You always want to be doing the things that are unique to you and your business, and align with what you're trying to accomplish in the business. So comparison is the thief of joy. Number two, right? You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to make constant progress in the right direction. So there's a internal resource that we wrote for our mastermind clients, and this is something we'll probably have access for everybody. It's called the Clinician's Compass. This is a small book that I wrote that really is to help people understand what race they're running and the direction they're trying to go. So the idea of this is understanding, like, where you want to end up in life, understanding what business vehicle coincides with that to get you there, and then starting to reverse engineer getting that business to the place that needs to be in order for you to have the life that you want. Versus what most people do is they build a business that becomes their life, and they sacrifice everything else around them in order for that to be successful. Well, a lot of people feel like they have to have everything figured out. They need to figure, oh, I need this many clinicians, I want this many locations, I want, whatever, everything figured out. That's just not the case. What you need to do is just make constant progress in the right direction because it's not that clear, especially when you're first getting started. Imagine like trying to do annual planning or quarterly planning in a new business and you have no idea what to expect, right? You're just guessing. You're trying to make forward progress in the right direction. And you're going to get a lot of opportunities that come your way and they need to align with the direction you're trying to go because these things can take you off course very, very easily, very quickly and distract you from where you're actually trying to go. And that's why it's so important to just have a general idea of where you're trying to go, right? For me, it's, I want everything I say yes to create more time and financial freedom for myself and my family, right? Okay, so what aligns with that? Many things don't align with that. Many opportunities that have come our way, we say no to because they're going to take a lot of my time and it limits my ability to coach my kids. It limits my ability to spend time with my wife. It limits my ability to have physical activity on a daily basis so that I can stay healthy and participate in things with my friends and family that I want to do. And there's always going to be, if you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. If I say yes to this meeting, I'm saying no to taking my daughter on a, breakfast date. Like these are the things you have to keep in mind. You have a limited amount of time and you just need to know what direction you're trying to go. And at that point, you can trust your gut and make decisions based on that. But if you don't have a general idea of where you're trying to go, how do you know if you're making progress in the right direction? You're just guessing, right? You're just guessing. And this is what most people do is they're very reactive about the decisions that they make in their business. And, then, and oftentimes they end up in a place that they didn't want to be. Sadly, this is very common with the entrepreneur community because we get blindsided. We just get these blinders on of we have to have success in our business. It's so important. It's so important. And everything else falls apart around us. So you don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to know that you're making progress in the right direction. Okay, number 3, your kids don't care how much money you make. Like, this is actually something that I think, anybody that has kids, or maybe you have a dog, whatever, your dog doesn't care how much money you make. They just wanna hang out with you. They just wanna go on a walk, like, your kids are the same way. And, for many of us, this is something that's, um there's this thing we tell ourselves where we say, "I'm doing this for my family. I'm putting all this hard work in for them," right? And when they get kind of frustrated because you're not around, because you're working so hard, and you're trying to get, your business to be successful, and if you don't have any balance around that, at least some amount of balance, what's gonna happen is you're gonna, avoid the people that love you the most unintentionally because you think you're doing the right thing, right? And this is something that for me, with having young kids when we started our business, um, you think they don't remember those things. You think they're not going to remember if you're not around, not going to remember if you're constantly gone. That's just not true. Like they remember, and all they want to do is just hang out with you. They just want to spend time with you. And the reality is, they don't care how much money you make. They don't even have a reference point for that. I remember, like my kids, we got them, all these Christmas gifts one year, and this was like the most, like we've ever spent on Christmas ever, right? And we're like, "Oh, man, we got this cool shit for the kids, like, they're gonna love this." And all they wanna do is play with the boxes. They just wanna build forts with the boxes with my wife and I. That's it. That's all they cared about. They didn't care about the toys they got or anything like that. They just wanna hang out with a cardboard box, right? So what you think other people value is not necessarily what they do. And your kids in particular, if you have them, or your dog, they just wanna spend time with you. They just want you to be around them and to enjoy each other. So don't discount that because that is also free. You don't need a lot of money to be able to do that. You need time and you need being present, and that's really really important to not forget that because having been around a lot of entrepreneurs at this point, it's so common to see a lot of success with failure in other parts of people's lives. Like it's sad when you see somebody and they have all this financial success, all this success in a business arena, and they have no relationship with their kids. Like their kids won't talk to them, or they've ruined their health, or these other things are so important. And I just don't want you to be one of those people because I was close to being one of those people. And luckily for me, I got around the right people, learned how to manage the entrepreneur life. I have a spouse that will call me on my shit, which is incredibly helpful and important. And for some of you, if you don't have those things, you can trend the wrong direction. You got to make sure you're focused on the right thing. So remember, your kids don't care how much money you make; they just want to hang out, right? They want to spend time with you. Okay, number 4, your body's your vehicle in life. Take care of it. Um, for clinicians, that's my background. Most people, watching this, that's your background. But yet, it's so easy for us to not take care of ourselves because we're so busy trying to have success in this other area that is challenging and that we don't understand. And when I was just starting our clinic, I was still teaching a lot. I was traveling 2 to 3 times a month to teach for Kelly Starrett's group, uh, which is called the Ready State now. At the time, it was called Mobility WOD. So I was traveling 2 to 3 times a month. I was doing workshops late, in the evening to try to get patients with local marketing. I was treating all the patients. I was doing a lot, and I was burning at both ends. And the thing that I took away where I could create more time was sleep, right? So I started to really limit my sleep because I would go to work, come back. I would hang out with my family when my kids would go to sleep, which was like pretty early because they were pretty young. They'd be 7:30, 8 o'clock. Then I would go right back to working, and then I would work until maybe midnight, and then I would be up at 4:15 because I would work out at 4:15, get to the clinic, 6 a.m. patient, and so I would say 4 to 5 hours of sleep is all I had for years, and eventually my health started to deteriorate. I started to get, like weird symptoms. I started to feel very fatigued. I started to have a hard time training and recovering. And your body will start to let you know, like, it's like your check engine light is coming on, and you can only treat yourself, really poorly like that for a short period of time before it starts to have other effects. It creates a lot of negative problems for you, in particular, your emotional control, right? Like when you're tired, you're like a baby. Like if a baby's tired, they're just like they lose their temper easier, right? Like they cry easier. When you don't have sleep, like you're just not as good at thinking through things. You don't have as good of emotional control. You lash out at other people. These are things that happen because you're tired. Right. So that's a huge one. You got to sleep. You got to take care of yourself. You got to put good food into your body and take care of yourself, because this is your vehicle in life. And if this breaks down, then you can't accomplish these things that you want in your business to be able to get you where you're trying to go with you and your family. Right. So, and it's so counterintuitive for a clinician when we talk to people about this constantly. Like, think about how many people you talk to about sleep, nutrition, movement, stress management. And then all of a sudden, if you actually look at yourself, are you doing what you're telling other people to do? Because I sure was not. And many of you are probably not either. And you can only do that for so long before it creates a problem for you. So you've got to reinvest in yourself. And I feel this even more now than ever, right? Like, it's I don't recover the way that I used to, right? I need to spend more time warming up. I need to get more water every day. Like, I have to sleep a certain amount. Otherwise, my recovery is just not very good. And if I want to be physically active with my family, which I want to do, I have to put time and effort back into my physical health, my mental health, in order to be the person that I want to be around them, right? And the person to lead the business that you're starting, that you're growing. Like, that person needs to show up and have energy, and they have to have focus. And these things come from us really pouring back into ourselves and making sure that we're being healthy, that we're not necessarily just burning at both ends and just work, 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 work. Because that's what a lot of people will do, and it's a mistake. And eventually, it'll catch up to you. Okay. Um, Wolves don't concern themselves with the opinions of sheep. So, say that again. Wolves don't concern themselves with the opinions of sheep. I had someone tell me this one time, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense. But it really does. If you think about it, when we put it in the context of what other people think about you and how you feel about that, and sadly, the the way that other people think about us, we put far too much emphasis on, right? The way we're perceived, the way you think you're perceived, and too many people will avoid doing things that they really want to do in life because of fear of what it will look like to people that they care about, or maybe even people they don't care about, that they're just worried will have, some sort of opinion of them. And this idea of wolves don't concern themselves with the opinions of sheep. What do they care? It's apex predator and dinner, right? Like, and I'm not saying like, to that extreme, maybe with people's opinions, you should care that little, but you should care a hell of a lot less than you think. And all of us have things that we haven't done that maybe we regret or we wish we would have done. And if you really look back at that, for most of us, the root of that is fear of what other people would think of us. Not necessarily if we did it, but if we failed. And this stops a lot of people from doing something that's very meaningful to them. This stops a lot of people from taking a chance on themselves. This was something that was very hard for me. Whenever I got out of the military, one of the concerns I had was, what if this doesn't work? I'm giving up this career. And I was, checking every box needed to be able to continue to make rank in the military and work my way up, the ranks over a career. Well, what if I get out and I decide I'm going to go teach for Mobility WOD. I'm going to start a cash-based clinic, which at the time nobody even knew what the heck that was really. And if it doesn't work, like, am I going to be able to go back in the military? Could I go back with my tail between my legs and ask for my job back? Would I have to get a job at a clinic that maybe I didn't enjoy or get a lot of value out of? What if I failed? Like, I'm giving up this very, very secure path, this career that I've been working towards in order to do this thing that I wasn't sure was going to work. And it wasn't that I was necessarily scared of like financial ruin or anything like that. It was really, I was scared of, if this doesn't work, it's going to be really embarrassing for me. And I'm going to look like a fool because all these people have told me that, why are you doing this? Like, you have this sure path, you have this career, you have this, however many more years and make rank and then get military retirement and pension and healthcare for life and all this stuff, right? And if it doesn't work, you're going to look like an idiot. That's the way that I viewed it. I wasn't actually afraid of the financial side of it as much. I felt like Ashley and I were very financially responsible, but it was the fear of it not working and me looking like a failure, right? After having given up this job in the military. And that stops a lot of people. The fear of failure, the fear of what other people are going to think stops so many people from actually taking a chance on themselves. It stops you from starting that business that you want to start. It stops you from asking that person out that you really, really, really want to date, but you're scared they're going to say no and all your friends are going to laugh at you, right? It stops people from all kinds of amazing things that they're just scared of what other people are going to think. And they're scared of the rejection and the embarrassment that they might feel and the way that other people will feel about them. And in reality, like, think about this for a second. The people that really matter to you, the people that actually care about you, do you think that they're going to harass you? Do you think they're going to say, I told you so, dummy? Like, you should have just done this or this? Absolutely not. That's not going to happen. But yet in our mind, we think that. And the concerns that we put on what other people think, the fear we have around what other people think is one of probably the most profound ways to stop you getting what you want in life. It has ruined more people's dreams than about anything else that I can think of. So you got to realize you can't concern yourself with what other people think about you. And it's very hard for people pleasing clinicians like ourselves. We're just trying to make people happy. We're just trying to get people better. Awesome. That's a great habit or that's a great trait to have in so many ways, but it's also very negative when it comes to you taking a chance on yourself. So do not concern yourself with what other people think so much. Do not worry about the failure of it. Think about what happens if you don't even take a chance on that. And then you're too old to do anything about it. That's scary as fuck to me versus what we're talking about with failing, not scary at all. And as soon as you start to put yourself in those positions, you get better and better at it. And it starts to affect you less and less and less. And that's where you got to really focus your attention, is pushing yourself into areas where you're uncomfortable and not being so concerned about what other people think of you. Okay, next one. Delay gratification as long as you can. So at this point, we've worked with over 1,000 clinicians in physical therapy biz. And this isn't like 1,000 people bought the book that I wrote. This is 1,000 people that we've worked with face to face, help them in their business, in the trenches with them, helping them actually start, grow, and scale these businesses. And one thing that I've noticed that is an absolute trend is that the people that tend to have the most success are the best at delaying gratification. And here's what I mean by this. So let's say we have two different clinics, and both of them are off to a hot start. Let's say they both get to the point where they're seeing, they're generating $15, $20, $25,000 a month by themselves in their clinic. Clinician one takes that money and they move into a bigger house. They buy a nicer car. They go on a really nice vacation. They have this disposable income now that they're not used to making as a clinician, making $80,000 a year. Now all of a sudden, maybe they're clearing $160,000 a year. So they have this net of $80,000 that's like awesome. We have this additional money that we can live this big life with. Clinician number two lives this same exact life, takes that money and reinvests it in their business, reinvests it in savings, in paying debt down, in investing outside the business, grows that, and is able to grow that to multiple people and put themselves in a really good cash position because they have now saved a lot of that money that they've made, but they haven't moved the goalpost on their lifestyle. The amount that will slow you down if you start to have success and live this big life that you might want, but you might need to delay longer than you're willing to, will slow you down so much. And the people that are willing to delay gratification and reinvest back in that business, reinvest back in themselves, reinvest back in investments outside the business, they put themselves in such a different place financially. And this is something that I think Ashley and I did really well because when we got out of the military, I was making about $78,000 a year as a captain, stationed at Fort Benning, Georgia, and that was our salary, right? So when we got out, we started paying ourselves a salary like a paycheck from the day that we could, right, from in the business that was equivalent to my paycheck from the Army. And we didn't change that for 5 years. For 5 years, we did not change what we paid ourselves, even though our income went up by multiples of what I was making whenever I was in the military. We didn't change our lifestyle. And because of that, within a few years, we had eradicated debt that we had, completely paid it off. We had put ourselves in a position to have cash reserves in our business to really expand and grow into standalone spaces, to be able to hire people, to be able to get time freedom and not have to do everything. And that was massive for us to be able to spend more time with our family in particular. And we'd put ourselves in a place where we had started to snowball savings and investments even outside the business that have compounded over years and years and years that wouldn't have happened if we weren't able to actually save as much money as we did as our income grew. And this is a very hard thing for people. In fact, I see this uh, trip people up all the time because if you're used to making a certain amount of money and now all of a sudden you're making more, it's a natural tendency to start to you know buy that nicer car, live in that bigger house, go on that nicer vacation, buy that, go out to those nicer restaurants, all these things that you want to do and you want to have that sort of reward from the hard work that you've put in. Well, I'm not saying not to do that because the next thing I'm going to talk about is sort of counterintuitive to this, ironically, but it's about delaying gratification early on so that you can put yourself in a place where you have a foundation financially, a foundation of fiscal habits that are solid. Because with businesses, here's what you got to keep in mind. It can undulate, okay? Meaning you can have great years and then it can go down. Or you can have great years and then you go through an expansion cycle and all of a sudden you're making less money than you were. And that can feel very scary, especially if your income, uh, you know, goes down a lot and you've expanded your lifestyle into it versus what we did was keep it exactly the same. So we didn't really care. So as we grew and reinvested in the business and we go through hiring people and taking on more expenses, we saw our net profit go down, which is normal during growth phases. And then it went back up as we were able to fill the schedules up of the providers that we had and we were able to add other profit centers to the business. And that put us in a completely different place, but it didn't affect us in a negative way because we were used to living off of money that we were able to pay ourselves no matter, how much the business went up or down because it was such a small amount in comparison to what the net profit of the business actually was. So don't move the goalpost, delay gratification as long as you can. And then you can start living this big life that you want. And I'll talk about that next actually, because delaying gratification forever is a terrible idea. So the next thing would be to die with zero. And I don't necessarily mean exactly die with zero, but this is a book that I read. It's called Die with Zero. And the concepts of the book I like a lot. the author is like a billionaire, I think, at least, hundreds of millions of dollars, if not, billion, in net worth. So you're talking about somebody that lives a very different life than you and I, right? So some of the concepts are, maybe don't apply exactly, but it's a great sort of philosophy. It's a great way of rethinking how we prioritize money. And for many people, they prioritize money over time and they prioritize possessions over experiences. And in my experience, those are not the most valuable things, you know? Um, Pouring back into your friends, your family, spending time with them, creating these unique experiences, these opportunities to create memories. And this is like probably one of the core portions of the book, or elements of the book that I really took away that I thought was fantastic. And it was this idea of how important experiences are, how important it is to document those experiences. And the reason why is you get what's called memory dividends. So imagine you go on a trip with your family to Disney, right? Okay. Like you have young kids, you take them there. They have an awesome time. You're taking pictures. It's expensive. Sure. Like I get it. But a couple years later, all of a sudden, you're looking through some photos and you see these pictures of you and your family at Disney on the teacup ride or, eating a Mickey ice cream stick, or something like that. Like you're going to get all of a sudden you remember that and you get what's called a memory dividend. And that is just as important as the actual trip. Like that's the cool part about it is you get this dividend of the actual experience. And those experiences are so important. And it doesn't have to be something expensive like Disney. It could literally be going to the park with your family and organizing this to where you get together and you throw a frisbee and you grill out and you just hang out together and you enjoy that time around the right people. Because these shared experiences are really, really, really important. And one of the mistakes that people make when they delay gratification, they get really good at it. This is a mistake that Ashley and I made in particular, was then all of a sudden you don't want to spend money on anything. Even if you can't, even if it's important, even if it creates a meaningful experience for you and your family, you still say to yourself, no, I can't do that. Because what if I need this or this? Or what if I need to invest in this thing? Or what if I need this for the business? And if you do that the rest of your life, you avoid these fantastic experiences that maybe do cost a little bit of money, but they cost time more than anything else. And they cost your attention and they cost your ability to be creative, to think about what you can do with your family. Like this is a real problem. And for many people, the idea of just save for retirement, like, delay, 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 wait until you're old, then you can start experiencing the world. Like this is so ass backwards, right? Like you can't experience the world in the same way when you're 70 as you can when you're 25, 30, right? Like if you want to go backpack through Europe and sleep in hostels, you can't do that over a certain age or you're a creep, right? It's weird. You definitely can't do that when you're like 70. That'd be much harder for you to do than if you're 23, right? So timing of these things is really important, and just understanding that it's not all about just money. It's not all about just keeping all that money and waiting until you're old to use it one day. It's about using it effectively and curating experiences and time with the right people, um, along the way. This is actually one of the reasons why I had such a big birthday party. I never do this. Like I never ever prioritize my birthday. I read this book and I've been prioritizing my birthday the last couple years. And so for me, like I just want people to be around each other. I want to be able to have a good time with people that I don't see as much as I wish I did, friends, family, and bring them together and let them be around each other and see each other and curate these cool experiences that we can have, with one another, so that I can be a part of their life and I can share some of the financial success we've had, with them without them having to worry about like paying for anything, right? Like that's a really cool place to be. And it's a unique place you get when you have success in your business, but you also have to realize that you have to be able to share it along the way. And if you don't, then you end up being old with a bunch of money and unable to experience the world in the way that maybe you could have along the way, because you're physically more capable. So, Die with Zero, the concept of it, the book, I would highly recommend reading it. The title is Die with Zero. It's fantastic. It's made a big impact on me. Okay, cash flow is king. If you're going to start a business, you need to start a profitable business. And cash flow is one of those things, and the really net profit is are one of those things that are the most important. So gross revenue, which would be the money the business makes before any expenses, is in many ways a vanity number. Net profit and cash flow, this is how much actual cash is coming back to you as a business owner to do any number of things you may want to do. Maybe you want to reinvest in the business. Maybe you want to hire people. You want to grow. Maybe you want to take that money and you want to move it into things outside the business. But what net profit and cash flow allows you to do is to be able to like actually have security from the business. I have a friend who has like a $20 million top line business, but um, it's a juice company, and the net margins on this are very low, right? Like they're very low, and if they need to get a new piece of equipment, or if all this fruit goes bad or something like that, it can actually like completely ruin months of profitability for this business, even though it's so big. And it's a very stressful type of business to run. Versus when we look at like these cash and hybrid based clinics, having a relatively high percentage of net profit puts you in a much better place as far as stress is concerned, as far as predictability is concerned, and it's less likely to be in a bad spot to where it ends up getting shut down. So high cash flow, high net profit businesses are really important. And make sure that you are keeping your profit at a high percentage, because without profit, you just have revenue and nothing to show for it at the end of the day. And a lot of people like to say like, oh, I have this $20 million business or whatever. And we even track gross revenue, but it's because it's the easiest thing to track. Getting somebody to submit their P&L is harder than you think, and have it accurate is a bit challenging. But net profit is what we really care about. And here's the other thing that's really important. If you don't have cash flow and net profit, you're never going to be able to hire people inside the business that can be in leadership positions in your business. If you're trying to remove yourself and, let's say, autopilot your clinic to where you don't have to run the day-to-day of it, and you create true time freedom for yourself, you can't do that without having the corresponding cash flow to be able to pay somebody, right? Maybe it's a profit share or more of a salary or whatever it is, or getting really talented people. It requires money. And if you don't have the cash flow, you don't have the profit, you're never going to be able to hire anybody in the business that can actually like come up with decisions on their own, that's going to be a leader in the company. And you need that if you're going to try to create time freedom for yourself to some degree. Otherwise, you still created a job for yourself. Like if you can't leave the business for a month, if you can't, if you get hit by a bus and the business doesn't work, you have a job still, right? And you need cash flow, you need net profit to be able to pay people so that you can take a step back and focus on other things in the business and or in your life, right? So cash flow is king. You need that. All right, recurring revenue equals freedom. So when I first started my clinic, I didn't even know what recurring revenue was. And we'll define it real quick. Recurring revenue is money that comes in every single month without you having to go out and find a new customer, right? So this could be membership models, could be people that are buying another package of visits maybe they're working with you on. This could be having remote coaching or semi-private training in the business that they're on some sort of membership model. And it's money that's coming in without you having to go out and find a new sale every single time. I didn't know what this was, and I didn't even think about adding this into my business for years. And I look back at some of the bigger mistakes that I made. This is way up there. Like this is definitely up there, because in the first 2 years of us starting our business, we averaged about 300 to 350 new patients a month. So we were churning through new patients for a small cash practice, and none of them we gave an option to come back for anything at all. It just was discharge, discharge, discharge. And if you think about like the metrics that we have now, like we want to see businesses uh, really be around 50% of their revenue coming in from reoccurring or recurring revenue. So this is repeat business in some capacity. If we'd even got half of the clients in those first 2 years to stick around, you're talking about 300 patients on an annual basis that are coming back for something. Let's just say that they're coming back for a once a month visit. That's 300 visits you're talking about that we missed out on a monthly basis. So probably $60,000 a month in recurring revenue that we missed out on by not actually having any sort of structured way to bring people back in. And honestly, my mentality was that they shouldn't do that anyway. And it was because, I thought they need to learn this information. They can do this on their own. I don't want to become this maintenance provider that I thought was just like, you know, not the right way to work with people. And what I realized after some conversations with patients that I had was they wanted that. They wanted somebody to work with them. They wanted somebody to help them navigate the very confusing world of health and wellness. They wanted somebody to hold them accountable. They wanted somebody to do hands-on work that made them feel better on an ongoing basis. They want these things. And if you offer it to them, it will dramatically change your business. Because imagine if half of your revenue was coming in no matter what marketing efforts you did at all. How much predictability is that for you for your overhead? How much predictability is that for your staff? What does that pay for, right? Does that cover your rent, your office manager, your marketing, your payroll potentially, at least a big chunk of it? It probably does. And that is a much less stressful business to run than, hey, every single month we got to find 30 to 40 new people. And if we don't, we're screwed. Like we're in a bad spot. So that's not the kind of business that I would start again if I was starting a clinic. I would start with trying to build in some sort of recurring revenue model from day one, give people something that's ongoing that provides a lot of value that they want, and make sure that I build that into the business model so that it starts to compound and snowball. It's literally the biggest business mistake that we made early on, and we didn't even know we were doing it, right? And as we started to learn these things, it made a tremendous difference in our business and in a lot of the businesses that we work with. This is a really important sort of core element that they build into their business to make sure that there's predictability and it's not as sketchy to run, where you don't feel like you're just playing this like eat what you kill game. You have this recurring base, this sort of stability from the revenue that just makes your life much easier as a business owner. So recurring revenue is king. All right, last thing, your spouse is your most important business partner. So this may not apply to all of you. You may not have a spouse. Maybe you have a partner of some sort that you live with, but it's not a business partner, right? Your spouse is the most important business partner you have, and here's why this is so important. Your home life, if there's stability there, and you and in particular, if your spouse believes in you and they believe that like you're capable of whatever it is your goals are, whatever you're trying to accomplish, if they support you, and vice versa, because you may be listening to this and watching this, but like, are you supporting your partner in life, right? Are you supporting your spouse? Are you supporting their goals and what they want to do? Because if you have that support, if you have that stability at home, uh, it makes all the difference in the world for you to be able to go out there and just get the shit beat out of you in the early days of trying to start a business and coming back. And instead of that person, you know, putting you down and they're like, I told you you couldn't do this. This is a bad idea versus, all right, let's get back out there. Good job. Let's do it again. I'm looking forward to seeing, what you're able to do. Let me know how I can help. Like that is such a big difference maker. And it's the person that also you need to make sure you're prioritizing much more than you think. In it is a it is an easy relationship to uh to I don't want to say avoid, but to not prioritize. You think to yourself, oh, I've been with this person, we've been married for however long. We understand each other. They know what I'm going through, but you can't. You have to prioritize this person. You have to prioritize time with them, doing things that you enjoy together. Like you cannot avoid like actually putting time in with your spouse, even though you're so busy trying to do these other things and you're stressed out or whatever else. This is someone that you enjoy, that you've had a lot of fun with, that you obviously liked enough to want to get married, and you don't want to let that relationship sour because you're so solely focused on other things. And I can definitely say, for me, I would say the first couple years when we started our practice, Ashley and I, we worked together. We started the business together, so we were around each other a lot. But I did a terrible job of prioritizing her as a person outside of the business. Every time that we would talk, it was about business, right? It had nothing to do with her or interests that we had outside the business. We didn't really ever spend any time together. It was always just us and the kids, or us talking at the business, or us with our employees. And it's one of those things that at a certain point it'll catch up to you. And these relationships you take for granted, that you just think are going to be there, they start to slowly deteriorate, and you have to put time and attention back into these people. Like this spouse relationship to me is it's the most important relationship that I have. And I can't say it was always like that when I started my business. In fact, it definitely wasn't, especially if you looked at the way that I prioritize my week, and this is a really good test for yourself. If you prioritize your week, look at your calendar. What it'll tell you what you're prioritizing. Are you prioritizing business? Are you prioritizing your kids? Are you prioritizing your spouse? Are you prioritizing health? Like, it'll tell you all kinds of things. And if your spouse is not a part of the equation and you just think that person's going to be around because, you guys are comfortable with one another, it takes work. And if you don't do it, it's going to end up taking that relationship and putting it in a really, really sour, position where you may not be able to dig yourself back out of it. Fortunately for Ashley and I, this is something that we've had our ups and downs. We've learned how to work together. We've learned how to communicate better together. Our relationship is in a better spot than it's ever been, but it's not. It's not by accident. It's because of hard, work, challenging, work, things that you have to learn about yourself and accept about yourself that maybe you need to change, and vice versa. And if you're not willing to do those things, then that relationship is going to slowly deteriorate. And that is not a good thing. That is very actually an incredibly sad thing. And I think it's something that I see very often in the entrepreneur world where one person is just, solely focused on something and they forget about everybody else. They expect them to be around to help take care of them. And it'll just always be that way. And they never, ever prioritize the other people around them until those people get sick of it. And then they leave. So I hope that that doesn't happen to you, right? I hope that me being able to share this like relationship and how important it is something that you can, really take and start to make a change with how you are spending time with your spouse, how you're communicating with your spouse, how you're prioritizing your spouse. Because it is, in my opinion, at least for people who are married like I am, it is the most important relationship that I have. Because if things are off there, things are off everywhere else. And it's the foundation, it's the bedrock. So you've got to spend time working on your relationship with your spouse. You have to continually improve that. It's like, anything else. You have to nurture that. You have to continue to grow that. You have to continue to improve. And if you do, then it'll continue to become as solid as ever. And if you don't, then it will slowly, drop off and you may end up without that person being in your life. So, in summary, this is what I wish I would have known 10 years ago. And as a 40-year-old man, which isn't that old, right? They say 40 is the new 30, I think. I wish somebody would have told me this, when I was 30. Because if someone had said, listen, Danny, comparison's a thief of joy. Don't compare yourself to other people. That would have been really nice to know because I spent a lot of time comparing myself to other people and seeing what they were doing and trying to change what I was doing in my business because I figured they had it figured out and I didn't. And I wasted a bunch of time. If someone would have said, just figure out the direction you're going. You don't have to have it all figured out, but have an idea of what direction you're going, why that's important, and what you want your business to eventually support. Like that would have been very helpful versus being very reactive to what I was doing. If somebody would have said, wolves don't concern themselves with the opinions of sheep, which someone did tell me that was huge for me. It's just like, yeah, why do you care so much about what other people think? Why is that something that's going to have you stop taking a chance on yourself? Why is that going to have you stop trying to improve your life or to go after a goal that's so important to you and it's meaningful to you, but yet you're scared of what other people will think. And that's enough to stop you. Like, dude, come on. Like take a chance on yourself. Don't worry about what other people think. Care what other people think that are the most important people to you, that will be honest with you. Don't care what your friends think. Don't care what some, loose connection thinks. Don't care what your uncle thinks, right? Like care about what like your spouse thinks, care about what your best friends think, care about what your family thinks of you, that even in some cases, they might say things that because they're worried about you and that might come off as like they're doubting you, but they're just worried that something might not work out and they want you to be okay, right? You have to understand that as well. So don't let opinions of other people stop you from actually going after what you want in your life. These are the things that I wish somebody would have told me. And I hope that um, that this information helps you in some way. Maybe one of these things that I said affects you or means more to you than the rest. But whatever that is, like think about it and start to make a change in your life for whatever direction that's going to take you. Don't just listen to stuff. And I'm guilty of this a lot. Like I consume a lot of content, but it's about taking action on content, right? It's about you making a change. It's about you putting effort in over a period of time to make an adjustment. And if you can do that, then I think this podcast, I think this video will help you significantly. I hope it does, right? And if you're starting a clinic, if you're trying to grow a clinic, like this is what we help people with. We help people not just have success in business, which is obviously important, but to not burn your life down in the process, which frankly is so common in the entrepreneur world. And if you're trying to surround yourself with coaches and a group of like-minded people that are on the same path as you, I would recommend heading to physicaltherapybiz.com. Take a look at what we're doing. Like we're honestly helping people, like in a very meaningful way. And that's something that I'm very proud of. There's a lot of education out there. There's a lot of people selling information, a lot of people selling business consulting and all these things. And I think the thing that separates us is the fact that we're not trying to just have business success. We want to have success in life. And we want it all, right? We want to be a great human being. We want to have great relationships. We want to be healthy. We want to be successful financially. We want to be successful in life, helping other people and giving money away and giving our time away and being philanthropic and actually helping people along the way and not necessarily just solely focus on what's our business revenue, which obviously is important and we help grow those things. But more than anything, it's about the combination of you living a fantastic life and having a vehicle in life that helps you get there through your business. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. As always, I really appreciate it. If this helped you, share it with somebody. That's about all we ask. Share us with a friend. Even give them like a timestamp of, hey, I think this one would really help you, because obviously this is pretty long. You may not have time to go through all of it, but share it with somebody. I hope it helps them as well. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.